How to make money investing in real estate. So welcome back. So you want to make money in real estate? Well, this episode is all about that and so much more. I'm going to show you how to make money investing in real estate. Now I'm going to share you with some ideas on just how to get started if you want that. I'm also going to show you how to get some government guaranteed investments where you always make money. I said guaranteed returns. Later on, I'm going to show you the comparison between ordinary investments and investments that make serious money. But I'd like you to stay with me until the end, because at the end of this, I'm going to show you 2 mistakes that newcomers and investors make at the auction. I don't want you to make those mistakes. You could lose all your money. Stay with me. I'll be right back. Now, there's lots of different ways to make money. So there's a huge market of single-family homes. I started that way myself with condominiums and single-family. This is a huge market. There's a huge market in fixer-uppers where people don't take care of those properties and then they sell them for low prices. So that's another big market. Now, there's another market that follows that called the foreclosure market. Now, the foreclosure market has very little margin in it right now. There was a time when there was big margins, but now there's small margins. So you have to be very careful with foreclosures, because if you're buying them at the auction, you might be spending too much money. There's a market for apartments. Now, apartments are very good because when you raise the rent, you raise the rent on all the units, and that can really help you make a lot of money. The negative on the apartments is if we have a bad economy, people double up in those apartments, and suddenly you have a lot of vacancies. All right, now, America's favorite pastime is doing what? And that's going shopping. So strip malls are another part of real estate. Shopping centers are another part. Regional malls are another. Those are all very sophisticated investments. Now, I've been involved in the investment part of this thing, just in the tax lien and deed business for over 30 years. But I started back in 1970, and I've seen the prices go way up, and I've seen them come crashing down. So I'm going to show you a strategy that always works. Now, I say it always works because it's in the distressed property part of it, and so it doesn't go up and down. There's always going to be a supply of properties, and there's always going to be deals in the market, but you just have to learn this almost secret strategy, and I'm going to teach it to you as we go along. All right, so real estate is all about being able to create value. Now, how do you create value? Well, I can tell you 2 ways really very easily. The builder that goes out and gets an open field, puts in some roads and water, and builds houses, builds value, makes value for that community. Same thing happens with that construction company that builds with a developer in a downtown location. They build a high-rise office building. They're creating value. So how are you going to create value? Well, I'll tell you a way you can do it that's easy, okay? Once you learn this, you can do it for the rest of your life. What's it about? It's tax defaulted real estate. Now, what is tax defaulted? It means that someone didn't pay their tax, the local county confiscates the property, and when they do that, they don't want the property, they want the money for the taxes. So they're going to resell that property at a very low price. They'll start that low price somewhere around the back taxes. So they could be selling a valuable property worth $200,000, $400,000 with a starting bid of 10 or 20% of the value. In other words, they might be starting out at $5,000, $10,000, or $30,000 on a very valuable property. Why would they do that? Because they don't want the property, but what they do want is the money, number one, to pay the back taxes, but number two, tax collector wants properties on the tax roll. They will do discounting and discounting and discounting until they can get a property back on the tax roll. Once it's on the tax roll, it's an asset for them. It's bringing money in. So tax defaulted real estate is a whole market that 90% of the outside market doesn't know about. What are they thinking about? They're thinking about fixer-upper houses. They're thinking about developing land. They're thinking about apartments. They're thinking about short sales. They're thinking about bankruptcies. Very few people are thinking about the tax defaulted business. So what is this episode about? How to make money in real estate. You need to build value. Value is the important thing. So if you could buy a property for the back taxes, 10 or 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar, well, the county's happy because they paid their bills. Now, what kind of bills does the county have? They got a lot of bills. They got to pay the police department. They got to pay for the firefighters. They have to pay for the schools. Somebody's got to fix the roads. You're kind of getting the idea. So the county has a lot of bills to pay. So they want back taxes immediately. But more than anything, they want to get a property back on the tax roll. If they can get it on the tax roll, it's an asset for the county. It's going to generate more money, constant money coming in. For you, it's a chance to buy at rock bottom prices, 10 cents, 20 cents, 30 cents on the dollar, and now you have a chance to build value. So if you bought at 20 cents on the dollar and the property still has a market value of 100 cents on the dollar, you've got all that margin not only to make yourself money, but to build value for that community. Now, I don't know what your favorite type of real estate is, but you can, when I finish this, you can go below and you can tell us what kind of property that you're interested in. You can also ask the question and we'll answer it and tell you about tax liens if you want to know, and I'll give you a free gift if you put your name in there. All right, so let's go back to this profit, all right? So the county will sell for starting bid. So let's say there's a property, a nice property with, say, $400,000, and you could buy it for 25 cents on the dollar. Well, you're saying, well, wait a minute, Ted, 25% of 400,000, that's $100,000. Well, it sure is. Well, what about the profit side? Well, if you bought it for 25 cents on the dollar, could you sell it for 50 cents on the dollar? Well, of course you could. $400,000 property advertised for 50 cents on the dollar is certainly going to sell. All right, now what have you done? You made yourself 100% profit. You've given someone else a great deal. You got a property back on the tax roll. So start thinking like that, because there are literally 5,000 auctions every year. The county is going to sell properties. The state has told them you must get rid of those properties. You can't have them on your inventory. You've got to get rid of them. The treasurer is happy with any sale that puts the property back on the tax roll. What they want to do is they want to collect taxes on property. They don't want to own properties. So what are we talking about? We're talking about investing in real estate at rock bottom dollars. All right, there's tons of these auctions. If you can buy 10 cents, 20 cents, you could even pay 50 cents on 100 and make yourself money. For example, a $400,000 house, some people are willing to pay $200,000 at the auction. Why? Because they're going to sell it for $300,000. All right, it's all a perspective of where you're thinking about money. So you need to think about money as making value. If you can make value, the home builder does that when he builds out in that open field. The developer that builds a high-rise downtown is creating value. You're now going to create value because it was tax defaulted. You're going to sell it, make a nice profit for yourself, and then someone else is going to make a profit too. So everybody wants to make at least $100,000 on a profit. All right, now you may not have heard about this before, and the reason you haven't heard about this before, no one has any reason to tell you about it. So tax lien certificates and tax defaulted properties have been around for 200 years. I didn't invent it. I just made a business of teaching people how to do this. So if you want to learn how to do tax liens and tax deeds, well, just stay with me, because I'm going to have a free gift when I finish this video. Meanwhile, I'm going to do a couple of questions. Okay, good questions. So the question was, it sounds too good to be true, and what's the catch? Well, it does sound too good to be true, because it's hard to imagine that the government's going to get rid of properties for pennies on the dollar. So tax lien certificates, well, the local government is selling those because they need to incentivize the people to come in and buy them, number one, but number two, they have to have money. The local government must have money. What do they need the money for? They need the money to take care of people in the hospital. They need the money to build the roads. They need to take care of the court system. They have to take care of the schools. So they have to get rid of these properties, and they either are going to sell a tax lien certificate, or if they don't sell that, they're going to sell the actual property. So half of the states will sell tax lien certificates. Okay, now you don't get a property then, you just get a certificate, but you can earn 16, 18, or 24%. The other half of the counties are going to actually seize the property, and they're going to resell it into the market. They don't want the property. One, what they want is the back taxes, and they want to get it back on the tax roll. So yes, it sounds too good to be true. It's been around for 200 years. Okay, so how about, that's a great question. So what could you do with these properties? Well, let me give you an example. In other videos, I'll show you how to do this. I won't have much time to do it today, but you could sell this property yourself, just like a bank does, on installment sales. And instead of getting all the money at once, get monthly payments. For example, I had a client bought a tax defaulted property for less than $5,000, and when he sold it for $1,000 a month in payments for 84 months. So he bought it for $5,000. 84 months later, he's going to have $84,000. That's a hell of a return. So I have a gift for all of you, and the gift is a safe haven. It's really a mini course that you can learn about tax lien certificates and tax deeds. Now, you don't have to do anything. It's going to be my gift to you, and all you have to do is register below. Well, I promised you I'd tell you about two big problems in real estate. Well, real estate investors, whether they're brand new newcomers or whether they're experienced investors, make this mistake. And there's two of them I'm going to tell you about right now. And you don't want to make these mistakes because they're going to cost you a lot of money. So mistake number one is people go to an auction and they bid and they haven't seen the property. Now that's a big problem. Why is it a big problem? What if there was a hurricane? What if there was a fire? What if they had a big windstorm? I don't know if this property's damaged, and most people at an auction don't know unless they've looked at their property within the last few days. So if you don't have someone you trust that's checked that property or you haven't done it yourself, I'm going to say don't bid at the auction. I've seen people lose thousands of dollars and actually lose all their money because they bid and they didn't know what they were bidding on. Now, the second big mistake is people get to an auction, they get very excited, they're demanding of themselves, they push, they want to make sure that they're going to be successful, and what do? They start bidding on property which they don't have an exit strategy. All right, now that could be a tragedy in itself, because if you just keep bidding up, and you might win, but what if you bid too much? Well, the only way you're ever going to know what to bid is to make sure you know what you're going to sell a property for. So the exit strategy is what you're going to be able to sell for. You should know that before you bid at an auction. So I want you to avoid those two mistakes, and I'll see you on the next video.